What if I told you that the same argument used to defend slavery, segregation, and lynching is used right now to justify federal raids in democratic cities? What if I told you that states' rights, the excuse Southern governors gave for blocking Black children from school, is the same language being selectively ignored when ICE sweeps through Atlanta, Chicago, and Minneapolis? This isn't a coincidence. This is a pattern that's been operating for over 150 years. But before I show you how Jim Crow's playbook is being used in 2026, make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because understanding this pattern is the only way to recognize it when it's happening right in front of you. Often at this point of the video, I insert my own personal experience. However, in regards to this video, I'm going to take you back to 1986, when Reagan's war on drugs came about. As I've shared with you on several occasions, I grew up in the inner city of Toledo, Ohio. Toledo is about 40 minutes from Detroit, which was one of the major cities that saw an influx during the Great Migration when Black Americans were fleeing the South, one, particularly in escape of Jim Crow, and two, to find work in the industrial industry in pursuit of a better quality of life. However, Toledo began to experience the deindustrialization between 1950s and 1970s. Blue-collar jobs that supported entire neighborhoods disappeared. Working-class Black and white communities were hit the hardest. Youth unemployment was soaring, and it led to informal measures of survival, to include drugs, redlining, housing discrimination, urban renewal projects that displaced Black neighborhoods, while white flight to suburbs created concentrated poverty in the inner city areas. These factors were a key predictor of drug markets, not drug use alone, drug dealing as a form of survival. When Reagan enacted the war on drugs, like policy today,
our commitment to this program is unshakable. We intend to do what is necessary to end the drug menace and cripple organized crime. We live at a turning point, one of those critical eras in history when time and circumstances unite with the sound instincts of good and decent people to make a crucial difference in the lives of future generations. We can and will make a difference.
Even though the policies were not explicitly race-based in writing, data supports it was definitely race-based in its enforcement and impact. Although drug use was considered equal across the country, I witnessed the targeting of Black communities, such as my own, resulting in dramatically different outcomes for Black citizens versus white ones. For more insight on that, I encourage you to read The New Jim Crow: Mass Incarceration in the Age of Color Blindness by Michelle Alexander. This is similar to what we are witnessing now with ICE presence in selected communities. The United States has nearly 1 million undocumented white immigrants from Canada and Europe residing in here. As I speak, none of us have witnessed ICE raids in their communities, and they reside heavily in red Republican districts. Before we dive into 150 years of this pattern, make sure you subscribe. This is the history they're actively trying to erase, and you need to see every video that we release. Let me take you back to 1877. Reconstruction is over. Federal troops withdrew from the South, and immediately, Southern states reasserted control through what they called local autonomy. They passed segregation laws, poll taxes, literacy tests. They created legal regimes designed to keep Black people from voting, from owning property, from participating in democracy. And when the federal government or civil rights activists challenged these laws, Southern leaders had a ready-made defense: states' rights. They said the federal government had no right to interfere in states' affairs. They said segregation was a matter of local sovereignty. They said Jim Crow was about constitutional balance, not about keeping Black people powerless. But here's the truth. States' rights was never principle. It was a shield protecting racial oppression from accountability. In 1896, the Supreme Court made it official. In Plessy versus Ferguson, the court ruled that separate but equal was constitutional. The decision gave states broad discretion to regulate racial separation however they wanted. Federal differences allowed racial injustice to persist for decades. Lynching, states matter. Police brutality, local issue. Economic retaliation against Black farmers and business owners, not a federal government's concern. States' rights functioned less as a constitutional stance and more as a protective barrier shielding racial oppression from accountability. Now, if you're starting to see how states' rights was never about principle, it was about power, stay with me, because what I'm about to show you is how the exact same logic operates in 2026. The civil rights movement exposed the lie. Images of police dogs attacking children in Birmingham, fire hoses turned on peaceful protesters in Selma, brutal arrests broadcast on national television. The nation was forced to confront the reality that local control often meant unchecked abuse of power. Federal intervention became necessary through the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and federal court oversight, precisely because states had proven unwilling to protect the rights of its Black citizens. And how did Southern governors respond? They said federal enforcement violated constitutional principles. They said it disrupted the social order. They said it infringed upon local governance. But here's the hypocrisy. The same state governments that demanded autonomy eagerly accepted federal funding and support when it benefited their white constituencies. This selective embrace of federalism underscored the reality that states' rights arguments were not about consistency. They were about control. The collapse of Jim Crow did not eliminate this political logic. It just forced it to evolve. Recently, ICE agents forcibly entered the home of a man in St. Paul, Minnesota. During an operation to locate convicted offenders, the agents did not show him a warrant, handcuffed him at gunpoint, and removed him from the house in only his underwear in sub-freezing weather. He told them he was a U.S. citizen, but they did not verify his identity until after he was detained for hours. Once citizenship was confirmed, he was released without apology or explanation. By the way, the reasons for identifying his home were proven to be false. In October of 2025, ICE agents in plain clothes detained a U.S. citizen born in California outside of his workplace in Portland, Oregon. Agents accused him of overstaying his visa despite his asserting his citizenship. Video shows the man being threatened with handcuffs and a police dog.
An overstay.
I don't know what that is,
Where
dude.
were you born? And don't lie to me.
I'm from California, dude.
Don't lie to me. Where were you born?
California.
Okay, so we're gonna take you in and verify your
No,
information.
you're not, dude.
Yes,
No, you're not.
Yes, we are.
I haven't done anything wrong.
You just told me that's you who I have here.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that's you. You just told me that's you.
But that doesn't make me an illegal or anything.
Open up.
Right.
Turn around, or you're gonna get the dog. Turn around.
I haven't done
We're gonna
anything.
put you in cuffs. Are you gonna?
He was handcuffed and taken to the ICE facility in an unmarked vehicle. He was held for several hours before being released with no explanation. In April of 2025, a 19-year-old young man from New Mexico was detained for nearly 10 days in Arizona, accused of illegally entering the U.S. because he didn't have identification on him and allegedly told agents he entered the country unlawfully. His family later presented his birth certificate and Social Security card, and the federal judge dismissed the case, leading to his release. What's happening today in 2026 is not identical, but we cannot deny the undertone of segregation while seeing the same traits witnessed during Jim Crow. Now, let's jump to 2026. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE operations, are increasingly concentrated in large urban centers governed by Democratic leadership and characterized by racially diverse populations. As I mentioned previously, there are nearly 1 million white immigrants residing in Republican districts, yet we have not seen any evidence of ICE agents where they are. Yet the Democratic cities, often labeled sanctuary cities, adopt policies limiting local cooperation with federal immigration enforcement. They do this to protect undocumented residents and maintain trust between communities and local police. At this point, I need to ask you to go and research something. Like they did to the black male at the end of Reconstruction during Jim Crow, they demonized him. They painted him out to be some bad person who was unable to adapt to civilized society. Undocumented immigrant is not a bad word, yet it's used as a dog whistle to create fear within how you view them. But I want to ask you to do something for me. Go to house.gov. What you will find, even in house.gov, is that between 2023 and 2024, that undocumented immigrants paid between $90 to $100 billion, not million, between $90 to $100 billion in taxes. They use it through a ITIN number. I think it's individual tax identification number. But what this administration understands is the old playbook. You won't go do your research. That's what they're banking on. The same thing that they did to Black America at the end of Reconstruction during Jim Crow is what we're seeing in non-white citizens being done today. But I encourage you, be smarter, be wiser. Don't let the dog whistle make you fear. Let's talk about the rule of law. Federal officials frame ICE deployment as necessary to uphold the rule of law. For me personally, I find that hard to take seriously when the president himself has 34 criminal indictments. But don't let my personal opinion persuade you. Take the information, conduct your own research, and land upon your own conclusions. But here's the question. Why are rural areas, conservative jurisdictions, and predominantly white regions with undocumented populations not experiencing ICE presence like we see in Minneapolis? Not only are they not there, but why are those communities void of armed men in tactical gear, no identification badges, face covered, pointing weapons in their faces, scaring the hell out of them? This uneven application suggests that enforcement priorities are shaped solely by immigration concerns, not solely by immigration concerns, but by political and demographic considerations. Just as states' rights rhetoric once shielded Jim Crow, the modern emphasis on law and order serves as legitimizing language for policies that disproportionately impact people of color and weaken political opposition. ICE operations do not exist in a racial vacuum. Although immigration is often framed as a Latino issue, enforcement practices increasingly affect Mexican immigrants, Black immigrants, Afro-Caribbean communities, asylum seekers, and mixed status families. Raids, surveillance, and detention destabilizes neighborhoods already subject to over-policing, economic inequality, and voter suppression efforts. Communities targeted by aggressive federal enforcements are least likely to participate in civil life, attend protests, engage with local government for fear of deportation, or associating with those who may be deported, which creates a chilling effect that undermines democratic participation. This mirrors the Jim Crow era, when Black communities were systematically intimidated to prevent voting and political organizing. Moreover, democratic cities represent the backbone of multiracial political coalitions that challenge conservative power at the national level. Targeting these areas through federal enforcement functions as a form of political pressure, punishing jurisdictions that resist dominant ideological agendas. Now, if you're starting to connect the Jim Crow voter suppression to the modern ICE enforcement in democratic cities, you're seeing the pattern, because what comes next shows how constitutional convenience is applied selectively and only when it serves power. Here's where the hypocrisy becomes undeniable. During Jim Crow, states demanded autonomy when enforcing racial segregation, but relied on federal indifferences to protect their authority. Today, federal officials override local autonomy when cities adopt immigration protective policies, yet champion states' rights in other contexts such as voting laws, gun regulation, public health mandates. The pattern is clear. This inconsistency reveals that federalism is not applied as a neutral principle. It operates as a flexible tool deployed to maintain existing power relationships. When local policies empower marginalized communities, federal authority is invoked to suppress them. When local policies restrict those same communities, autonomy is defended. This pattern underscores a deeper continuity. The law is used not to simply govern, but to shape who belongs, who participates, and who holds power. Under Jim Crow laws, minor or fabricated offenses like vagrancy, loitering, or failure to carry papers were used to arrest Black individuals and funnel them into convict leasing systems. This process supplied cheap labor while reinforcing racial hierarchy. Similarly, immigration law increasingly blurs the lines between civil violations and criminal behavior. Minor infractions can result in detention, family separation, and long-term exclusion. The expansion of surveillance, data sharing, and policing partnerships intensify this effect, particularly in urban areas already burdened with systematic inequality. In both areas, the laws serve not merely as a means of justice, but as a mechanism of social control. During the Jim Crow era, segregationists portrayed Black Americans as threats to social order, morality, and economic stability. In the modern era, immigrants and urban populations are often depicted as such. They're sources of crime and disorder and cultural decline, despite evidence contradicting these claims. These narratives justify aggression enforcement while obscuring structural cause of inequality. They also allow policymakers to present racially targeted actions as race neutral, masking discrimination behind legal terminology. The reputation of this strategy across generations demonstrates how deeply embedded racial governance is within American political culture. Just as the civil rights movement challenged Jim Crow through mass organizing, legal action, and moral appeal, contemporary movements resist aggressive immigration enforcement through things like sanctuary policies, court challenges, and grassroots activism. These efforts reflect a broader struggle over the meaning of democracy, belonging, and citizenship. However, the rolling back of voting protections, the expansion of surveillance, and the normalization of federal force in urban spaces suggest that old strategies of control are being repackaged in this new era. The comparison between strategies under states' rights during Jim Crow and modern ICE deployments is not about identical circumstances, but about reoccurring patterns. Both reveal how power adapts to maintain itself when directly challenged. The effort to maintain states' rights during the Jim Crow era and the contemporary concentration of ICE enforcement in democratic cities with large Black and people of color populations are connected by a shared political logic. In both cases, legal principles are selectively applied to preserve racial hierarchy, suppress political participation, and to weaken coalitions that threaten entrenched power. Understanding this continuity is essential. It challenges the notion that racism isn't just merely a relic of the past and exposes how structural inequality evolves rather than disappears. By recognizing the historical roots of modern enforcement practices, we gain clearer insight into the ongoing struggle of genuine democracy, one that does not depend upon exclusion, fear, or selective justice. If this video showed you a 150-year pattern you've never seen connected before, from Jim Crow states' rights to the 2026 ICE enforcement in democratic cities, I need you to do 4 things right now. First, subscribe and hit the notification bell. This is the content they're trying to erase, and you need to see every video released. Second, like this video and share it with your family, your church, your community. This isn't partisan politics. This is a historical pattern that's recognized. Third, leave a comment and answer these questions so others can learn. 1. How does understanding Jim Crow's states' rights defense change how you see modern debates about federal enforcement in our cities? 2. When has federalism been applied selectively in your lifetime? What pattern do you notice? And 3, how do you explain to the next generation that the same arguments used to defend segregation are being used today? 4, this is crucial. Explore the sources and books on the topic in our complete Black History Library at the link in the description and in the pinned comments below. The law is not neutral. It has never been neutral. And recognizing that is the first step towards changing it. Don't let them erase this history, and don't let them use the same playbook without you recognizing it. Subscribe, share, and speak the truth. I'll see you at the next video.